This Week in Startups is brought to you by Uber. Read all about the ways Uber is moving forward by going to uber.com/moving forward. And Walker Corporate Law, specializing in the representation of entrepreneurs. Visit walkercorporatelaw.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can follow me on Twitter at Jason or Instagram at Jason, and you can follow the show at TWI Startups on Twitter and on Instagram. The show is twice a week. We've done over 800 episodes. What's the point of this show if you're first tuning in? The show is about startups. That's why we call it This Week in Startups. And every week we interview founders, venture capitalists, and sometimes authors and journalists about technology and entrepreneurship. One of the biggest lies in Silicon Valley is that you cannot compete with the incumbents. People believe that Facebook has become so powerful that you cannot compete with them. Well, there were 4 competitors to Facebook: Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, and Twitter. I'm talking about major competitors. If Instagram had not sold to Facebook, or if WhatsApp had not sold to Facebook, I believe we would be looking at a market where nobody had more than 50% of the market. So all credit to Zuckerberg for making huge gambles and buying up WhatsApp and Instagram at bargain basement prices. He bought Instagram for $1 billion. It would be worth $150 billion now if it was an independent company. I think he bought WhatsApp for about $19-20 billion. If that was an independent company right now, it'd probably be worth triple that, 50, 60, 70 billion. And so the lesson here is never sell your company to Zuckerberg. Don't take the quick money. Play the long game. On the program today, we have a founder who wants to take on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and he believes, and so do his investors, that he's got a shot. Now, it might be a long shot, but the reward is big. And so what you're looking for in startups is founders who are courageous enough to believe that even though it might be 1 in a million or 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100, it's worth taking the shot. We're looking for the Han Solos. Never tell me the odds. So with that, I bring you Daniel Singer, the founder of Panda. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jason. I'm happy to be here.
So now you're the CEO, founder of Panda. What is Panda, and why do you want to take on this incredible challenge of going after massive incumbents with billions of dollars in capital and hundreds of millions to billions of users?
Yeah, so I think the short way of putting Panda is everyone has a movie inside of their head, and we let you make that real. So basically the way the product works now is I start talking, I say words, whether that's alone or with a friend, and little pieces of that start to become real. You know, we talk about playing Fortnite, and boom, I turn into a Fortnite character. And you know, where this kind of fits in the bigger picture of things is Instagram and Snapchat, right? You talk about how they've kind of eclipsed and become the dominant social platforms of the day. That wasn't always the case, right? I remember when I was growing up, Snapchat came out of nowhere. You know, in LA, we were one of the first high schools to get it. And there was an interesting thing I started to notice, and kind of why I thought this was worth leaving my job at the time and kind of going and starting a company and going against the odds, so to speak. Is these tools are built around the cameras that capture what our eyes see, right? And if you live in New York or LA or San Francisco, right, the life you live and the way you see it is pretty interesting, right?
Sure.
You have the skyline, you have the 280, you have all these great things, right? Avocado toast, for example.
Sure.
But if you're a teenager...
Critically important for millennials.
Yes. And if you're a teenager, only if they would consider home ownership as well.
Exactly.
But if you're a teenager in Indiana, let's say,
it's pretty flat.
Yeah, it's pretty flat. You're
steak and shake.
Yeah, you're probably not making a whole bunch of money. Maybe working like a grocery store or something, right? So you're not always partying and always traveling and always eating gourmet meals, right? The actual interesting things that you want to share, right, are the moments with your friends or the funny jokes or, whether you're going to get into college or not or the breakup you're going through. These things that, right, aren't really easy to take photos of and, share visually. But the kind of competition you're thrown into as a young, person in America and more broadly the world is, you have to be living the best life. Show me your best life. I'm traveling. I'm going to Santorini. And that's not achievable for most people.
Right. So now you make it achievable by giving them a free flight to Santorini so they can take pictures of the cliff houses.
Exactly. We have a movie pass style business model where we let you go one trip.
Oh, you a member of MoviePass?
I was, and then
you lost your card and got frustrated?
No, I still have it. I didn't.
It's too annoying.
If I'm gonna go to the theater, I want to go IMAX. I want to ball out when I go to the theater.
Yeah, I understand your point. They now have a new program with MoviePass where you can pay the difference for like an IMAX.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had MoviePass. For people who don't know, it's $100 a year. You get unlimited movies. You can see one a day. I used it like 5 times during Oscar season. I saw all the big ones, and then twice since, maybe 7 times at $15 per ticket. So I broke even.
Yeah.
And now the pressure's off, but I just don't like the idea of having to be within GPS location to buy my ticket because I want to get it.
Yeah. I want to buy it at 2 hours before or a day before or whatnot.
Yeah, not at the same moment. Okay, so why don't you give me a little demo here of Panda?
Sure.
For those of you who want to visit Panda, it's panda.af, which for those who don't know is ask frequently, right? That's what that stands for in Millennial? Ask me frequently? No. AF stands for?
As fuck.
Okay, there you go. Now we've lost our iTunes safety rating. Thanks for blowing it, Daniel. And when you say AF in Millennial terms, that just means like extreme.
Yeah, extremely.
It's like your version of to the max, as we would say in the 80s.
Very, very relevant, right? Just kind of push 10 out of 10, right?
Right.
So
pedal to the metal, as they said in the 70s.
Pedal to the metal, yeah. I mean, for us, it was just like...
balls to the wall.
There's not a lot of .coms
Which,
anymore.
by the way, that term is not an offensive term. Balls to the wall comes from the steam engine, my understanding is, when the ball in the steam engine would go to the wall.
Really?
Would go to the highest position. You can look it up. Okay, so let's do a little quick demo here. For those of you listening, I will, of course, sportscast it. Now we see our very attractive young founder here, Daniel Singer, and he is looking at a camera. And it's showing a microphone. So I said the word camera, threw up a camera.
I'm not doing anything.
You're not doing anything, but you're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Now you're looking in. Now, if I were to say to you, hey, Daniel, you play into that Fortnite? I understand the kids are very much into that Fortnite.
Right.
It throws the Fortnite helmet on you.
So all of a sudden, right.
And if you were to say to me, hey, Jason, did you sell Masa any of the SoftBank shares in that SoftBank tender offer that they did for Uber, we might see filter come on board.
Yeah, we might have
for that
SoftBank stuff come in, or we might have some money kind of wire in.
Or I'm very boring apparently because I see you have Z's there. Oh, there's the money flying. There's the SoftBank. So essentially, what's happening here is instead of me having to manually throw a filter on, it's dynamically doing those.
Yeah.
Now this seems very simple, and it is by design.
Yeah.
But I kind of see where you're going with this. And so when we get back from this quick break, I want to ask you, is this the first step in being able to use my voice to build my own version of Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, etc., a Toy Story, let's say? And if so, how long before I could make a short animated film with myself starring in it, let's just say a 3-minute film, 5-minute film, like the ones that Pixar did in the 90s that we all remember when we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey everybody, let's talk for a minute about safety and responsibility and technology startups owning safety and security and using technology to keep drivers and riders safe. Well, as you know, I love Uber, and Uber is moving forward, and I love what I'm seeing out of this company that has done such a great job spreading point-to-point affordable transportation to everybody. And Uber has just created a safety center. You may have seen it in the app. It is amazing. In the safety center, you can designate up to 5 family and friends as your trusted contacts. And that means you can set up reminders to share your trip with them so they know exactly where you are, when you're getting home, when you got picked up, and they can see you on the map and know when you've arrived. Think about this with your kids, with your loved ones, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is, and even business meetings. And Uber's updated app makes it easy for you to verify the details of your ride and your driver's name, his car or her car, the license, and all of that. I even saw that my driver speaks Hindi the other day. And obviously you can see their name, their rating, how many rides they've done. Uber's being super transparent, and they're super focused on making the service safer and more delightful. These are just excellent steps taken by Uber, and I am thrilled about it as an Uber power user and an investor. So you can read about all the ways Uber is moving forward. Go DK and the team. You just go to uber.com/moving forward. Uber.com/moving forward. Thank you so much to the team at Uber for focusing on safety and security and just making that app effortlessly efficient with the new safety center. Good stuff, huh? Everybody go check out your Uber app and visit uber.com/moving forward. Congratulations to the team over there. You've done an incredible job, and I'm very proud to be an early and still a long investor in Uber. Okay, let's get back to this amazing program. Okay, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest today is Daniel Singer. He is the CEO and solo founder, brave, of Panda. You can go download Panda right now, panda.af. Panda as F. Sorry, Mom. I will bleep that out. My mom doesn't like that. Now, when I left our hero, I was left thinking about one of our previous guests, which we'll annotate right here on YouTube, pointing to the link. Remember to annotate that, please, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie, which was we had one of the co-founders of Pixar who wrote a wonderful book called Creativity Inc., named Ed Catmull. Have you read this book yet, Daniel?
I have not, but it is in my Amazon queue, and I really should get to it.
You're going to go get after this, you're going to watch the episode of Twist with Ed Catmull, and then you're going to listen to the audiobook. And that book tells the 40-year story of Pixar. And when I talk to you and I see the demo, very impressive demo of Panda, and you're speaking and things are happening to your character, the graphics are better than the first couple of versions of computer graphics that Pixar was working on. It seems to me you are not long off from being able to have somebody say, show me a character like Lara Croft or Indiana Jones, but put me in that suit. Have me running down a mountain, being chased by a bull, being ridden by a Nazi. And this would happen. Is that the ultimate vision for what you're doing? Do you want people to actually create movies, or you just want to do this like rinky-dink, put filters on top of people in the Snapchat kind of style?
So I think you're starting to kind of like hit it on the head, right? So I think what we first discovered is we dressed up something familiar in a new way. That it's like, okay, it's Snapchat lenses using your voice. Cool, that's fun, right? It's familiar for people to understand. All right, a cowboy hat appears on my head. Great, I said cowboy hat. But what happens when you start to take that and put it into conversational context, right? When we have conversations, we tell stories. I know you've told me a bunch of great stories that are enthralling, and you know how to illustrate the scene if you were in Brooklyn and you were at the bar. Like, you know how to set up that scene, and using voice, we're able to take all those elements and start to recreate them, right? Now, in the beginning, we start to use kind of off-the-shelf 3D models and 3D models that are familiar, but we start to add multiple of them. In the latest version of the product, you can do backgrounds. All of a sudden, I can be in space and be in Fortnite. Very soon, we're going to be able to let you grab those and actually use them as if they were real. So you start to kind of like move along this line of getting closer and closer to taking that movie inside your head and making it real. And why voice is the key instrument there is a few reasons. One, it's infinite, right? I'm sure you've used After Effects or Photoshop or even Snapchat, right? You're limited to a few options. There's this power law of skill, right? Of the best creators in the world will always be able to make the best content. But my dad, for example, who does not know how to use these tools, right? Can't. But telling stories with your voice, right? Everyone can do that. That's when you're 4 years old and you tell your first good story where people actually listen to you and pay attention.
Sure.
And there's a plot. That's a skill that everyone learns how to tell. And the interesting thing I think we've seen is when you start to take them from words and actually letting people show that. I think everyone's had that moment of, I just wish I could show you. And that's what we get to the core of, right? I think voice removes a lot of the traditional kind of barriers to getting visual content out there for people. And we start to basically let you explore your imagination in the way that we know how. Everyone has that inner dialogue, and you just need to verbalize it. And let's say I want to be, Daniel Moji, and I'm snowboarding and I talk about falling and I fall, and we're essentially live animating a Pixar movie as we talk. I think that is going to open up the floodgates of how we communicate with the people close in our lives, because all of a sudden I can talk in TV shows, right? There's a bunch of storytelling tools we use in TV shows and movies that I think are phenomenal for telling stories, right? flashbacks, being able to talk about, third party, events, right? If I talk about, you in Masa-san, right? Like it should be the two of you. It should
Right.
be you guys, shaking and handing over a briefcase.
So how long before you think you could make a 3-minute short that could, let's say, get accepted to Sundance? Okay, so let's think that through. 3 or 4 minute short, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it means you need to have somebody who can write it
Yeah.
and direct it. But let's just say the tool is good enough for a
Yeah.
good writer to go ahead and write a script and speak to your movie maker,
Yeah.
Panda.
Are we using Elon Musk estimates, or are we?
Oh, that was a little bit of a low blow. Take it easy there, kid. I know you raised it. I know you
know.
raised $850,000, but that doesn't mean you get to throw rocks at the throne.
I love the guy. No. I'm just like, how ambitious of timing do we want to? No, but
Oh, you're talking about the debate I had this weekend with the
did you
other
ever-
VC who was throwing rocks at Elon Musk while
Did you ever
he's.
debate? I love the.
No,
I
there
think
was
it's-
just like a whole debate on Twitter this weekend because this one dipshit VC is just like, I've got puts against Elon Musk, and I'm like, and he's like talking about how the Model 3 is late and all this stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
what have you ever done in your career? And
Yeah.
like, by the way, like, you're throwing rocks at the guy who's trying to save the planet,
Oh, was this
rescue the 12 kids who are drowning in a cave in Thailand while landing rockets simultaneously.
Was
Give
this,
him a break.
The Ford tweet where he was like, "Oh, congrats on doing the like 5,000 vehicles."
No, that wasn't the Ford guy trolling. This is just literally a venture capitalist. And I told the venture capitalist, I called him out. I was like, listen, you're complete garbage. Like, what founder is going to want you on the cap table if the way you want to make money is throwing rocks at the back of Elon
Yeah.
Musk's head as he's trying to work?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
go invest your money in Panda or something, and like try to make the world better. Okay, so back to the question.
No, I mean, look, love the guy, but in terms of that, I mean, I'd say
The question. Here we go.
accurately, I think we'd be able to have the tool at a point where you can create dynamic visual stories where anyone can do it. I'd say sometime in 2019. If
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
So
be
2
like,
years, 2 or 3 years.
Well,
you'd be there.
2019 is next year.
Okay, so yeah, 18 months. And the technology's there. It's just a matter of you building it.
Yeah,
you
I
would
think
feel.
there's some new technology that needs to be built, and
Got
for
it.
example, in the product right now, right, the ability to chain different animations from the context of what you're talking about, doing that in real time, understanding the context of when I talk about wire that we're talking about financing, and that we're not talking about like tripwires, right? And understanding
it.
like that, requires a certain level.
Doing it in real time, I think, is you probably need to have two modalities: real time and then my time.
Yeah.
Like non-real time. Because if you think about it, what a director would be doing is they'd say, okay, scene,
Yeah,
cafe in Morocco,
yeah,
and it would say a little bit dingier.
yeah.
No, even more dingier than that.
So dynamic kind of modality. And the
Yeah,
way you
now all of a sudden we're in a dingy place and it says nighttime.
Yeah,
Okay, now it's nighttime. And I say, okay, and smoky.
yeah,
Okay, crowded.
yeah. So that's how
Okay,
it
so
works.
now the scene is
Yeah.
a crowded bar in Morocco that's dingy and it's smoky. And then I say, cue
Yeah.
the music.
So that's how it works right
Boom.
now. Right now, you can set up the scene and then you can start recording. Or if I'm talking in a call, right?
it.
So,
But you also have to have the ability to mute the other party.
yeah,
So I can say, cue
yeah,
the thunderstorm.
yeah,
So if they don't hear me say cue thunderstorm,
yeah,
it just has the thunderstorm happen. And the person on the other line is like, oh, I didn't hear cue thunderstorm and I waited 7 seconds for the thunderstorm to come in. Can you do that, or have you thought about that?
I think the way we want to approach it in the beginning is more towards kind of the normal creator, so to speak, of the way I tell a story, right? The way I tell like a folk story, right? At a campfire. Campfire is the best analogy we like using, right? At a campfire, it's this place, and everyone's able to tell these big stories, and you do the shadows, right?
Yeah.
The bird. And I talk about it was a long, stormy night, right? I don't want to have to say it was like a long thunderstorm. There's a thunderstorm and it's dark, right? Like that's very direct. This thing should understand what I'm trying to say. And
Passively.
and Panda should do it, right? So like long stormy night, great. Clouds should roll
Oh, you
in.
know what would be cool? Is if when you said that, it was a thunderstorm a storm rolled in.
Yeah,
What it should do is it should have 3 buttons come up:
yeah,
thunderstorm, rain, drizzle.
yeah,
And I pick thunderstorm.
yeah,
Boom. And then just 3, 2, 1s. Me, that countdown clock
yeah.
before it actually happens.
So I think so we've started to add elements of that, of like letting
Yeah.
you know that something's going to happen. Because,
And then you could exit out, right?
yeah. So right now in the product, you see something you don't like, tap and it goes away.
Got
It's
it.
dead
But it'd
simple.
be good if it was like, oh yeah, I was wearing a hat and and then it just said cowboy, baseball, Eskimo, whatever hat. Boom, I pick
I think
Eskimo hat.
what we want to do, and kind of like the long-term goal, and we're executing against that, is, right, we want to build this more of a, and quite literally everyone talks about building services, right? But a service serves you, right? You shouldn't have to put that much work in, right? You go to a restaurant, right? Like, you order, but now if you go to like Suvla, it's like you go and you bust the water and everything, right? Whole separate issue. But in the sense of, Panda should know that you want an Eskimo hat. It should know the context of what you're talking about. I think that's obviously very difficult to do, right? But I think that's the way we'd rather have the product work than you having to pick everything. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, this is a Thursday afternoon. It's after school. I'm in Florida, and I'm talking to my other friend who's in Florida. And I just want to have a conversation. I don't want the tool to get in the way. I just want to be able to tell you about, the thing I was imagining that happened in Minecraft and be teleported into that world and not have to.
How many people you got working on this?
So we just became 5 people, including
Five
myself.
people.
Yeah.
How many of them are developers?
2.
2 developers and then 3 other folks.
Correct.
All right, when we get back, people may not have realized this because you're pretty articulate, very articulate, in fact. You're 18 years old, 19 years old? I'm not sure.
18 for a little bit more.
Okay, so you're 18 years old. You've raised $850,000 from friends of mine, including Arjun, who was previously with Social Capital, and I think he invested through Social Capital. Cyan Bannister, a good friend of mine. We both invested in a bunch of companies. David Bateau, I think he's the kid from Secret.
Correct.
Who I don't know what he's doing now, but I think he's trying to. What's he doing?
He's the product guy at Postmates.
Oh, is it Postmates?
Yeah.
Okay, he's trying to rehabilitate himself after that debacle. When we get back on this from this quick break, I want to talk to you about, I got questions about your generation, because you're not technically a millennial. You're Generation C.
C?
Generation Z or C.
Yeah. C or Z?
It's C or Z. What do you?
Z. I think Z is the one.
I call it Generation C as in the connected generation. But technically, if you're Generation Z, because you were born either right before the millennium or the week after.
Right before.
How many months before the millennium were you born?
3.
3 months. So literally, you're a millennium baby. When we get back, I have a series of questions for you about how your generation thinks, because you are, in fact, the first Generation Z guest in the history of This Week in Startups. So when we get back, questions for Generation Z and on how Generation Z, and this is going to be depressing for you Gen Xers and millennials out there who can't raise $850K for your startup, how a 17-year-old who was born 3 months before the millennium has raised more money than you, and how you're still wallowing in how you can't raise money and how you can't get your product launched. Generation Z for the first time on This Week in Startups when we get back. This week, I have spent at least 10 hours cleaning up legal messes at startups I'm investing in. In one case, the founders didn't have vesting schedules, and one of the founders left the company. So now there's 40% of the company is owned by a founder who doesn't even work there and only worked there for 6 months. In other cases, people used the wrong corporate structure. They were LLCs, which then prevents them from ever getting venture capital. In other cases, they were registered in a foreign country and couldn't get investors in America. In other cases, they didn't even have non-disclosures and non-solicitation. So an employee left one of my startups and took 3 people with them because they didn't have a non-solicitation. All of these legal errors would have easily been caught by my friend Scott Walker at the Walker Corporate Law Group. They are a boutique law firm, and you've heard me talk about the Walker Corporate Law Group here on This Week in Startups many times. Well, they are focused on entrepreneurs and startups only. This is what they do at Walker Corporate Law, and they encourage fixed fees. In other words, they tell you what they're going to charge you for a service. So you don't have to sit there with that anxiety waiting to open that PDF and seeing some huge bill. Nope. You know up front what it's going to cost to do those mergers and acquisitions, licensing agreements, start your company, employee stock option plans, terms of service, privacy policies. All these things have to be done right, and they will cost 10 times as much to fix, because I'm literally doing that. Before I invest in a company, I give them a list. You have to fix the vesting schedule. You've got to get the company incorporated properly. You've got to get the IP assignment done. I'm literally doing cleanup work that Scott Walker would have solved for these companies had they used him as their attorney. So give him a call, 415-979-9998. You've heard me say that number before, 415-979-9998. Or email Scott directly, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, scott@walkercorporatelaw.com, or visit walkercorporatelaw.com. You really have to get focused on these things. Have the right corporate structure, have the right cap table, have the right vesting schedule, IP assignments. If your company's worth doing, it's worth doing correctly. Get your legal stuff dialed in so that you don't have red flags popping up. And we literally had a meeting before this podcast where I was sitting with one of my people who went through some diligence, and there were like 7 issues that needed to be fixed. And we got to the end and said, you know what? Is this a sign that the CEO doesn't know what they're doing? Is this too many red flags for us to invest? Well, I'm telling you candidly, if you have too many of these red flags come up during due diligence, you could lose quality investors. So go talk to Scott Walker. He's a great guy. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm chewing gum here on This Week in Startups. It's interesting. This gum is kind of interesting. It's called Neuro. It's not a sponsorship, but I'll just tell you about it anyway. Neuro gum. Neuro gum. Energy, clarity, and focus. This is Cinnamental. Cinnamental is the name of it. And all the kids in Silicon Valley seem to be chewing this gum. It has caffeine, obviously. L-thenamine. I don't know what how that's pronounced. Brain-activating B vitamins. And a micro dose of LSD.
I was about to say that.
So anyway, take it at your own risk. I'm tripping right now. No, it doesn't have LSD. But it's kind of interesting. I had this gum when I was like traveling. I'll give them a free plug because a founder emailed me, wants me to invest. I'm not sure if I'm going to invest in it, but I will tell you this. When you're jet lagged after 16 hours on a flight to Australia or back and forth to Barcelona the next day, this stuff will wake you up. Okay. Spitting out my gum. Getting back to my guest, Daniel Singer. You can follow him on the Twitter, Daniel Singer, as in singer and songwriter. He's the CEO and founder of Panda. But previously, he was a product manager at Sensei.
Correct.
I know that company.
Yep.
Tell everybody what that company does.
So when I worked there, we would do a messenger bot that would introduce you to people who you want to talk about. So let's say we wanted to talk about, and this is a good segue, crypto. I could find someone else to talk to about crypto, and we'd have a conversation. And now they are building a bunch of stuff around kind of connecting people over tokens.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
Bots and crypto, 2 of my favorite things. We'll get to that. And you were the founder of Bond. From 2014 to 2016. So you were founder of that when you were 15 to 17 years old or something.
Yeah, I think 15. Yeah,
16.
right before
What was
I turned
Bond?
17.
What was Bond?
So Bond was, I think I grew up going to a lot of venture events. And when there was a venture capital event, right, I had a VC named Shabi Rizvi, who's a great guy. And whenever you'd go there, he'd be like, oh, you should meet James, you should meet X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
And I actually went to Australia, was the funny part, after I had closed the company previous to Bond. And I'd just watch people, like, I was at the beach and I'd see them, like, walk up to people. And, like, there was this really interesting thought of, like, why don't, you don't know who this other person does. And it's this weird, like, chaos factor of when people go to apply for jobs or work or, like, they're very deliberate about meeting people. But when it comes to kind of your friends and dating, it was like, oh, we'll leave it up to chance. Like,
go to a bar. Yeah. I'll go to Coachella, see what happens.
Yeah. And like, that was always just strange to me at the time. So kind of Bond was trying to engineer that serendipitous moment of like meeting someone new. So we do that.
But it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to do something at bars and nightclubs. And at the time I was 16, so that was obviously not the best founder product fit.
Yeah.
I'd go kind of to these sales meetings. And
no, wait, let me ask you a question here. You're 15, 16 years old. You create this Bond. What? Aren't you in school? You're a sophomore or junior?
Yeah.
Where did you go to school? You went to school in Los Angeles?
Yeah. So I went to...
What are you, one of those Crossroad kids? Were you one of those Harvard Westlake kids?
Harvard Westlake.
Oh, I guessed it on the second shot. I gave you a couple of bonus creativity points, but you went to Harvard Westlake.
Yeah.
Which is a fancy dancy school.
That's one way to put it.
I understand a lot of drugs going on at Harvard Westlake. Can you confirm this for me?
I think Crossroads might be doing.
Oh, Crossroads is where they have all the good drugs?
No. No, I think not
really?
that I knew of. I mean,
I
hung
had
out with
some
the nerdy
parent tell
kids.
me like, oh my God, my kid's going to, I'm thinking about this one. And like the entire discussion of sending your kids to school in LA is centered around where will be the least debaucherous place to send your kid with the least number of billionaires' kids.
I think that's the broader LA private high school ecosystem, yes.
And so, like, literally, my friend was like 4 people in my kid's, like, 16-person class. I won't say which school. in case I move back to LA and I need to kiss ass and get into one of these. There were like 4 kids have private jets, and like then there's 2 kids there who are on scholarships who are like living in 1-bedroom apartments, and there was literally like an instance where like the class warfare going down of like, you know, kids with jets like laughing at them that they hadn't even been on a plane and their family had 2 planes. It was kind of whack.
Yeah, I think kids are vicious, but I think my class was pretty okay.
So now you're graduated. You're out of Harvard Westlake, or you graduate?
I dropped out of Harvard Westlake. I'm like one of the
So
few people.
You don't even have your GED. You went to the second best school.
I think they might
First
be
best?
they might be number 1 now. I don't know.
They're either number 1 or number 2. I thought the center isn't there like a center?
There's the center, but
the center, because that's where all the hip rich people go, right?
Or it's
celebrities
that,
go
like,
there.
Crossroads and like
Those are the 3.
Yeah,
the big 3. So anyway, you went to Harvard or Yale. If that you dropped out.
Correct.
In junior year, senior year?
It was 11 days into junior year. It was the day I turned 16. I was like,
wait a second, hold on. Your parents are obviously very successful people, or they couldn't afford this, or you got in there on scholarship. Which is it? They're successful.
My dad's a pretty good entrepreneur.
Your dad's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Do I know your dad? Is he one of my friends? Because I'm 47 and you're 18, so it's quite possible your dad and I play poker together. Who's your dad? Can you say on the air?
Yuri Singer. He's a film producer. I mean, he's done a bunch of other stuff before.
Oh, but he was a film producer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in the cradle of the Hollywood ecosystem. Great.
Very, very
when
lucky
you go to your dad and say, Dad, I got to let Mom know that I'm dropping out of high school, does he take a swing at you, or is he absolutely throwing chairs across the room? You're dropping out of high school?
So
how did this take? Where were you when you decided to tell them this?
It had been a long-running conversation, so it wasn't out of the blue of like, turn 16. All right, guys, I'm not showing up to school anymore. Thank you very much. Bye. No. So I mean, there were some jokes about saving money that were thrown around in that conversation, but I had been building things for, at that point, like 4 or 5 years.
Since you were 12?
12, 11. So it wasn't a stranger to them that this is something I like doing, that's something, like I had a knack for, that, at that point.
How did you get introduced to startups? Like literally, what was your first introduction at 11 years old to a startup?
The turning point was I got invited to Dribbble. I had been designing skins for Minecraft and doing a bunch of like graphic design work.
So you went through video games.
Yeah.
And you got invited to Dribbble by a community manager there or something?
Don't even know who it was. I really should find that out. But got in there, started doing design contract work, and would see a lot of these like ideas for startups, and I was like, I don't think these are good, and I don't want to work on that. And then like I was just like, there were problems in my life that I would notice. For example, growing up in LA, I think a cultural facet of that city is people tend to be more facetious on average, of like they won't be straight with you, and like that frustrated me. I come from a very open and honest family of like, you kind of, what you see is what you get. You just kind of
you're candid with each other.
Yeah, and
your dad's an East Coast guy or something?
He's from Israel. So,
well, that's an East Coast guy where I'm from.
Radical candor.
Radical candor, yeah. He's the East Coast of the East Coast, right? Because like, Israel's basically like the last part of Brooklyn. It goes Brooklyn, Long Island, Tel Aviv. That's how we look at it if you're from Brooklyn. So he's definitely from the East Coast. So for people who don't understand, Dribbble is with 3 Bs, and it's a community where people put their portfolios up if you're a graphic designer, et cetera. So if you're looking for a graphic designer, give them a free commercial. They should really be sponsoring this program. Somebody clip this and send it to the CEO of Dribbble. Anyway, Dribble's a good place to find people.
Yeah.
And the competitor is Behance.net.
Yeah.
So if you're ever looking for a design, you go to Dribbble or Behance, and you can find somebody. So you got on there, you started showing your stuff, you started seeing, God, this stuff sucks. I need to make some products.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just like, I had, ever since the first iPhone came out, I had sold everything I had to go get that. Obviously, had some help.
iPhone 4? What is this, iPhone 4?
It was the first iPhone.
Oh, the first one, literal.
Or it was the 3G, I think.
Okay, 3G.
And, the App Store came out, and I always, like, wanted to do something with that, but never had, like, a real thing to build for it. And for me, I just got obsessed with this problem of, I was making all these designs for people, and I'd show them, and, like, because I was 11, they wouldn't tell me what was wrong with them. They'd be like, that's great, Daniel. That's so nice. And, like, but it wasn't. Like, looking back, like objectively, they were not.
Yeah, no, it's like when your kid makes you breakfast in bed for the first time, and it's like Mother's Day or Father's Day. You're like, these are the greatest pancakes I've ever had. Yeah. I mean, they're raw inside, and they're burnt on the edges, and if I eat this, I'm probably going to get sick. But yes, this is the most delicious pancake I've ever had.
Exactly.
So you were getting that pat on the head, which is frustrating.
And I didn't want, because I people were paying me money for this. I like wanted to actually do good work.
Right.
And so that kind of revolved around to this first thing called UTEL, which was I could ask a question like, what do you think of my design thing? And I knew it would be a friend of mine or a family member or a coworker. And it just kind of revolved around that problem. Like, that kind of drove me to keep solving because I was like, this annoyed me on a daily basis. I'd be like, hey, what do you think about that? It's great. Number 2, like, and people didn't really care. And for me, it was that lack of feedback and transparency. And my thesis at the time was, well, if you separated people's identity from it, right, but you still knew that they were close to you, they still had the vetting of like, this is someone who I respect and I'm close to, but you know, they're not being singled out. So it was kind of like a 360 review for your friends.
Got it.
And I didn't know
Which
what that
can
was
go
at
a
the time.
little wrong. Before you came into the scene, there was something called FormSpring. I don't know if you caught the tail end of that.
FormSpring was around at the same time as
Yeah,
Zoom.
which was, here's a way to institutionally harass people. Like, ask them a question. Why are you fat? Why are you ugly?
So we did it
Why
the
did
other
you
way
cheat
around.
on your boyfriend? It was like,
You as the person had to ask your own question.
got it. So it's like asking for feedback.
Yeah.
I had the same exact
We actually
idea.
used the word feedback a lot, more than we should have.
I got the domain name helpmesuckless.com, and I had the same exact idea 10 years ago. And my idea was you could ask people, how do I suck and how could I be better? And I just thought, like, people who are high performers would love for somebody to be like, you know what? I kind of think you're full of shit, or your design sucks.
I still want that. I know
we gotta build this.
I make a bunch of mistakes every day, and all I want, and like you don't find out about them until like 6 months later. Like, hey, this thing you did, and I'm like, I wish I would have known. I would have like made a good-hearted. And there's actually a website we acquired.
Oh,
funny
really?
Enough, after things had kind of gotten along the way, it's funny. I'm like remembering that we did this, and it was nuts. Called Phelan.js, like failings was the domain.
Got it.
And it was exactly that. It was just like help me suck. It was very straightforward. It was like this is
no business model for these kind of anonymous services like Secret and other things, but there is definitely user traction to this. So if Zuckerberg's listening, he'll be putting it into Facebook and stealing it immediately. Hey, let's get into this segment I call Ask Generation Z.
New segment
on the program. Ask Gen Z. Make it swoosh in right now, and then just put like something about dolphins and saving the planet.
Avocado
around.
toast.
I'll put an avocado toast here. Ba 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 ba. Ask Gen Z. So we're gonna play Ask Gen Z with Daniel. Daniel, what does Gen Z think of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook? Candid, please.
So I think by most of Gen Z, there's a kind of affectionate nickname of Zuck, Z-U-C-C.
What? Z-U-C-C?
Yeah, the Zuck.
Zuck.
So if you look on Instagram meme pages, this is actually a real thing. There's one right now of like him smoking meats in his barbecue. I'm not sure if you've seen this video.
I have seen this.
Okay, so this is started by Gen Z of like this joke of because there's the like robot meme. I don't know. I mean, the guy's incredibly talented. Has done a great thing with his business, but he's memeable. I think everyone.
So Gen Z is poking fun at him because he is, and you can cut in the smoking meats video if you can find it. Director Tony. There's a new name for you folks out there. We got a new director here. Director Tony, find the Zuckerberg meets, and you can play it right now or over us or under us or whatever. But anyway, it's basically him. They took like the 4-hour live stream of him making meats, and they just cut the moments where he said smoked meat.
Yeah.
Is that right? And it's just like him.
He's like brisket. He's like pulled pork. It's just like, staccato. Like
staccato insanity. But why the double C? It's just like saying hodl.
Or I think it's like because like there's thick, THICC. So I think it's
wait, hold on a second. THICC is thick. So here it is. Here's Mark Zuckerberg. But thick is like if a woman is thick, that is a virtuous physical attribute.
Correct. So there's that. And
so like the ultimate thick model would be Kim Kardashian.
I think that might be it right now.
Like you'd say like Kim Kardashian is thick, and that's good.
Yeah.
Whereas in my generation, we had Kate Moss.
Yeah.
She is not thick. So what would a Gen Z person call Kate Moss? You know who Kate Moss is?
I don't know who Kate Moss is. That's where my age shows. I've heard the name.
Gen Z. We're literally left millennials out of this episode. It's Gen X, Gen X and Gen Z trying to cross the
generational divide.
The generational divide. Okay, Kate Moss was the supermodel of supermodels, or amongst them, with Linda Evangelista and Christy Brinkley. These were the true Naomi Campbell. These were supermodels. Yeah. Not Insta models, not models, supermodels. There you go. There's Kate Moss. So Kate Moss was so beautiful, but she was also considered like a waif, like super thin.
Got it.
Thin was the ideal
Yeah.
at that time. But you're telling me now the ideal is thick.
I mean,
Who else is thick?
I'm not an expert on kind of like youth beauty trends, so to
Okay.
speak, but like in terms of the nomenclature of where Zuck, Z-U-C-C, came from, of like.
So there's misspellings
yeah,
that
so
are
it's-
based on pronunciation, perhaps.
Correct.
Got
So like there's the Zuck.
Zuck.
So that I don't know. I'd summarize, and like in terms of more broadly, right? If we're gonna dig deeper into that
Yeah.
question of like Zuckerberg being an extension of Facebook, right? I do think like.
Yeah, let's take
I-
Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have 2 younger brothers, and neither of them use Facebook. Period. They
Period.
use Facebook properties, which is
Instagram.
a different Instagram, right?
And when they use Instagram, they do understand it's owned by Facebook.
They do because
They do.
Yeah.
They're aware of this fact because now Instagram keeps pushing Facebook down your throat.
Oh, I mean the grid. I mean, I'm pretty open mic critiques about products, but like the color gradient, like grab your eyes of like Instagram TV. I'm like, I don't like. My mom posted something on Instagram TV yesterday,
Yeah.
which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Made for grandma.
yeah, but I was like, I don't want to see this. It's a 10-minute video of you riding around in a Jeep, which by the way was very funny. But I was like, let me discover that on my own. Let me opt into that. Let me like, don't give me a banner that's like, watch Rosalie Singer. Like, oh shit.
So you're, yeah, I got it. It's fine. Nobody's gonna start harassing your grandma. For anybody watching, please do not harass grandma.
Just my mother actually.
Don't harass mom. But yeah, they're basically, and this is, does Gen Z think Zuck is thirsty? Do they feel, or is thirsty a millennial word? If I use the word thirsty,
There's a new one. Oh, this is one I don't think it gets talked about a lot.
Okay.
Full send.
full send.
Yeah.
Is it one word or two?
It's 2.
It's 2 words.
So have you,
S-E-N-D?
yeah. So
Full
have
send.
you ever heard that?
No.
Okay, good.
Explain
All right.
full send. This is great.
So we're gonna break news here.
Breaking news. Full
to
send.
everyone. So full send is like going for it, right? Like,
Right.
Like if I'm like diving for like a pet, like full send, or like do you know you're aware of Barstool Sports?
Yes, of course. Barstool Sports is the offensive
yes.
ESPN.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's a
Politically incorrect.
yeah politically incorrect. Like generally of Southern college kids doing like it's of
So a
the
little racist.
I mean, like I think they're actually pretty good about not having that there. But
Yeah.
it's just like big South schools, like
Got it.
I forget like SEC conference. But like you'll see the commentary there is like full send or like he went full send. So I
Full
think-
send. But
yeah.
what is the do you know the origin of
Don't
full
know
send?
the origin of full send. I just saw it started popping up earlier this
Because
year.
it's kind of like a reply all, but it's the reverse. Like a reply all on email
yeah.
would be something Gen Xers would
well-
say. Like reply all would
Yeah.
be like
Well,
we don't
it'd be
use
like
that.
replying all to like the big threads where it's like 1,000 people. Would be like he went
Yeah.
full send on that reply.
Got
all.
it.
That's how you could use that.
So like a group messaging kind of
Yeah.
thing. Full send. Got it.
Or like let's say you're like asking.
But that's not thirsty. Thirsty
No.
means you're begging for likes. You're begging for recognition.
You're begging for attention, romantic interest, or so there's the romantic.
So if I
interest
took my shirt off right now, that'd be thirsty because nobody needs to see me showing off my six pack. It's not necessary.
yeah, well,
You'd be thirsty.
I mean that sentence right there is that you're like.
It's a thirsty sentence, in
Yeah.
fact. Got it.
So yeah.
All right. So now what does Gen Z think of like television, cable TV, direct TV, remote controls, like channel surfing? Do they ever use a television?
I don't think I think if you're
you
talking to
use
like
a
someone who's
television?
12,
Uh-huh.
like I'd wager a large percentage of them don't understand conceptually, or they might have heard of it, but like don't have that much tangible experience with like channel flipping.
Right.
Like I do. I still remember that, but like, and I know my younger brothers do, but it's like their cousins, like, and our cousins, like I'm not so sure.
Would you ever sit down in front of a television and hit the up channel or down
Yes.
channel? You do that,
I have done that before.
but you don't do it on a
No,
regular
well,
basis.
I use YouTube TV now. Which
Use
I,
YouTube
which,
TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
How do Gen Zs think about YouTube TV? Would you pay for YouTube Red or whatever they call it now, premium
yeah,
YouTube?
it's premium now. I think.
I have that. I love that.
I mean, it's great.
Do you use premium?
So I use premium. I don't
'Cause you're a
think
baller?
most could-
You build out to your social capital back startup?
I ball out on the $10 a month.
You ball out on that? Because it is kind of.
Well, I mean, my thing
Is
is,
ball out a good term? Would I be?
yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Would I, be
like
uncovered as a Gen X?
I use
member?
ball out.
Ball
so-
out? Okay, so
but then again, I
you-
hang out with Gen X people all the time, so that might be
So you
really
would
odd.
ball out with YouTube Plus premium red.
Premium, yeah. I mean, here's the way I view it, right? You spend, especially as a Gen Z, right, like hours a day watching this content, and like the amount of time you spend on YouTube watching ads, like is well worth the $10. Like, if you
30 cents a day.
Yeah, for watching I think it's the most worth it bundle. Plus, you get like a music streaming service that, I mean, I have friends who work on that service, so I'm not going to be too harsh about it. I love Spotify.
Yeah, so when they think about music services, what do
there's a lot of sharing.
Gen Z thinks about music?
That's a general thing with everything.
Yeah, tell me about stealing and sharing.
Family plans, I think, have big air quotes around family.
I see.
Yeah,
Explain this. Unpack.
It's like you'll have college kids who like get a Netflix family plan and like split it 5 ways.
5 ways.
Yeah, so they're each paying like
$2 a month.
$3, $2 a month.
And then how do you get that money to each other? Are you Venmoing
I think they're Venmoing, yeah.
That's a big thing.
Square Cash has this remarkable. So in San Francisco, there's this like Venmo like holiness of like they made the social feed, everyone uses it. Venmo is very popular, but I think Square Cash has been doing a great job of like eating their lunch, like their ability to like align with pop culture and getting people to do it. Like Cash App, like they don't call it Square Cash, they call it like the Cash App, right? Which is a much better like brand, like
smart.
Like Cash Me Out. So like the Cash Me Outside thing, Square Cash, if I remember correctly, did a bunch of like jokes around that. Like so, it's like Cash Me, like that's
for people who don't understand. Cash Me Outside is I happen to know this reference.
Okay,
this
so
is
Cash Me Outside is
meme.
this viral video. I think she was on Maury or Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil, yeah. So there's this like 13-year-old girl at the time or something, and her mother, and like she's being like very
petulant
rude and petulant and like very explicit. And then like she interrupts Dr. Phil and is like, "Cash me outside. How about that?" And then that became like a viral meme.
For people who haven't seen it, I'll just pull it up here, and you can see "Cash Me Out" on my computer. And Phil's just in shock. He's like, "I'm sorry, what did you say?" She's like, "Just cash me outside." And she's become like a meme.
No. A celebrity. No, she actually like has a real career now, surprisingly enough. So her new name is Bad Baby with BHAD.
Bad.
Yeah, but bad. But she like goes on tour now, and she's in England now. Why I know this, I don't know. But like has transformed that one viral clip into a like money making career as a music artist. Like she's been on Billboard. Like
she's. I think they're remixing her.
No, she individually has music
songs. Got it. Okay.
Not related to the.
Interesting. And so just by not naming it Square Cash, by just calling it Cash Me or Cash
App,
you're good.
Yeah.
Cash App.
Yeah,
they made it.
And they've done like a lot of things in that.
Right. So let me
they
summarize.
added crypto into
the what?
They added crypto into Square Cash, and then like did a whole push with that.
What do Gen Z, nice segue. Yeah. What do Gen Zers think about crypto?
So
what do they think about Bitcoin?
I got
Ethereum?
A lot of messages during when it was like December was kind of when it was
when it was going
nuts,
bonkers.
Yeah.
Bitcoin 19,000.
When crypto was balling out, so to speak.
Yeah.
But or when it was lit.
It was lit AF.
Oh god.
Do I say lit AF or do I have to? I can write lit AF in my iMessage group.
Yeah.
But when I say it, I would say lit as fuck.
Yeah. I think most people don't. I don't really hear AF being used out loud a whole bunch.
You wouldn't say it out loud.
No.
You would use it in a chat room that way to save characters.
Correct.
So yeah, I would be on Fleek. Or Fleck.
That's very 2016.
Is it Fleek or Fleck?
Fleek.
So I would be on Fleek if I said lit AF in a chat room. Fleek meant you just look tight. We would say tight.
Fleek was very specifically about your eyebrows. For a long time, yeah.
Ooh.
Your eyebrows were on fleek. That was the gist of it.
So if I used eyebrow
I like how this became like a linguistics
I could be
conversation.
Fleek. I could be on Fleek if my eyebrows were tight, like trimmed. If I didn't have a unibrow.
Yes.
Like Anthony Davis.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah. Okay. But it became later to be on point, as we would say in my generation. You'd be on point or it'd be tight. We used to say, you look tight, kid.
Yeah. We've it's the remixing of old is new again.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How would a millennial say word? You know what the word word means when we say word. You understand this colloquialism?
Yes.
Word is like a strong agreement.
There's one. And I'm not sure if I'm biased by this because I use it all the time, but this is like saying Gucci. Instead of good, like Gucci.
Whoa. Hold on a second. This is life-changing. So if somebody says like, damn, son, I had the Impossible Burger the other day, I'd be like, Gucci.
Well, no, it'd be like it's like I'll see you later at like let's use a reference from the 2000s. I'll see you later at the mall, Daniel.
Okay.
And no one does that anymore, but like Gucci. That would
Gucci.
Be it's like good
Gucci.
or like instead of sounds good, it's Gucci.
And this is from Gucci Gang.
No, not that I know. I think it's either Gucci Mane or actually I don't
gotcha.
I don't know the etymology.
Gucci
of it.
Mane is a rapper.
Yes.
Gucci is a brand.
Correct.
And then there's somebody who said Gucci Gang
Yeah, so that's
1,000 times on YouTube.
So what's funny is the interweaving of the three on the kind of like meme culture of the internet.
Okay,
Is
let's break this down.
So a year ago, there was a video of Gucci on Gucci, which was Gucci Mane reviewing the Gucci Mane fashion show or Gucci fashion show, and it's a hilarious video. So those two like were like it was like a Vogue video of that covering. So there's all
Gotcha.
this like intermixing of that. Lil Pump. So Gucci Mane wanted to sign Lil Pump, the artist who is younger than I am.
Pump.
He was born after 2000.
I have Little Pump here. He's got the rainbow hair.
Yes.
He's pushing a Lamborghini in this video. If I say pushing a Lamborghini, would I be square? Or would that be lit as fuck?
What's he doing with it? Is he literally pushing it, or is he driving it?
Here, I'll put him up on the screen here. If you put up my laptop, you can see. Now, those styrofoam cups are indicative of
Lean.
lean.
Yes.
Now, for people who don't know, lean is Sprite,
Sprite.
Jolly Ranchers crushed up,
Correct.
and the codeine version of Robitussin.
Yeah, and Percocet, I think, as well.
Oh, you pop a perky in there too?
I think so. I've listened to a lot of like South Atlanta hip hop or East Atlanta hip hop. Sorry.
All right, now wait a second. Who don't drink? This is a public service announcement.
do not.
If somebody gives you a double styrofoam cup, because the double it has to be 2 styrofoam cups.
Okay, one comment. So Jackie brought me two cups together with water.
That's because Jackie's lit as fuck.
No, but I saw the 2 cups and I was
And
like,
she said, and
hold
you said
on now."
Gucci.
No, I don't drink lean.
But what's the
so-
2 cup thing
I don't know why. I think it just became like synonymous with
lean?
yeah.
Which is purple drank is
Yeah.
a colloquialism for that. Now, the reason why I have to do a public service announcement here is for people who don't know, I have taken lean without the Sprite, without the Jolly Ranchers, and without the Percocet, which is something a new ingredient, because I've taken Robitussin with codeine when I had the goddamn flu and I lost my voice. It's fantastic because you take it and you stop coughing from the Robitussin and you sleep well. Robitussin, I think they call it Robitussin 3 with codeine, is fantastic if you're sick. It's also a very powerful narcotic when if you drink too much of it, it turns off your respiratory system.
I got my
You stop breathing.
I got my wisdom teeth taken out, and they were like, "Hey, we're gonna prescribe you Percocet," and I had known about. I was like, "No, I'm good.
I'm
like,
good.
I don't want. Like, I don't like. Sure, bad pain. I was like, no, I'd just rather take ibuprofen. Like it's like because the thing is, right? Like you don't know like how predisposed you are to like because they are addictive, right? Like people have a major injury. Like this is a big problem, right? Like the opioid kind of like epidemic in our country. So
Okay.
yeah,
So to recap, lean,
yeah.
Gucci.
We've gone down a very interesting conversation, Snake.
Okay. You definitely have to have your YouTube. Where Premium now. YouTube Premium. No more YouTube Red. That was dumb.
I liked YouTube Red, honestly.
Well, the problem with YouTube Red was RedTube is an adult site
That's true.
that stole Tube. Then YouTube stole Red, and people were typing in RedTube and not getting exactly
really?
what they were thinking about.
Oh.
That's why that's what I heard on the back channel was whoever the dipshit branding person is at YouTube who came up with YouTube Red was like, number one, red means communist. Put that aside. That's a minor thing. They don't get to own the color. But RedTube
I wonder
was porn.
I wonder how strong that the communist associations of like the Cold War and whatnot are with like Gen Z. I'm actually curious about that, right? Because a lot of my kind of
What do you think about Russia and Putin? Is Putin and Russia a sworn enemy, a misunderstood dictator, or you don't know or give AF?
So I'm a big history fan. So
You are?
So I spend a lot of time learning about so I have a lot of thoughts that are hard to kind of go into brief detail, but I think it's definitely a nuanced situation. I think obviously, right, like for me, what's interesting is not even like the U.S. like Russian relations, but like Europe's dependency on like Russian energy, for example, right? And like how Russia is able to lever kind of politically in Europe, right? Especially kind of like in Eastern Europe. Like Germany uses, it's something like 60 or 80% of their energy comes from Russian natural gas.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like,
but they also have the largest amount of renewables. And they've had some days where they're over 50%.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's like what happened? Russia still holds a tremendous amount of leverage in Europe, right? So it's like, what happens if, let's say, the U.S. like isolates itself more from Europe, right? Like all of a sudden, right, there's some power vacuum that happens. So for me, it's like I look at more of the externalities.
The chessboard and how it's developing, like a risk board.
Yeah.
What do your contemporaries think? What does Gen Z think? As the Gen Z spokesperson, today on the program, Daniel Singer, the official president of Gen Z.
I'm not going to accept that title.
What does Gen Z? You've been given it. It's not yours to accept or decline. It's been dubbed. No. So in all seriousness, what do they think about Russian interference in the election? Because it is trolling.
Yeah.
So what do they think of the alt-right and the trolling and the Milo Yiannopoulos, Mike Cernovich, Breitbart,
It depends.
and the Trump election? What do they think?
I think I don't think
Are they
it's something
concerned
you can
or they think it's
broadly-
funny?
Well, I think I don't think you can broadly
All right.
characterize.
Well, what's the
'Cause
range of emotion you've seen?
But there's right. I think it in a lot of ways mirrors kind of people who might be 10 years older than them, right? If you have people who, let's say, if we're not, I don't want to like geo-box this to specific place, but like, let's say you're in South Carolina, right?
Sure.
Like, and you grew up in like rural South, you probably share the views of your parents or your people around you. So it's like, I think you have like the Donald or whatever, kind of the other side of Reddit. I think
Whoa. What's R the Donald?
Oh, so R the Donald is like the subreddit for Donald Trump, and like that's so like throughout the election and everything, right? So like I think to most kind of, so to speak, liberal equivalents, there is kind of a conservative side on the internet, right? Like there's forums.
So when you say R the Donald, you mean r/the Donald, which is a Reddit for the Donald. These are people who are pro Donald.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of memes, for example, there. Like basically, I think memes are the communication language, and like people are going to have their opinions and express them. But like I think memes are kind of the common language, just how we use words or we use images, right? Like we use the podcast as a format to communicate, right? There's a heavily right podcast and there's a heavily left podcast, and there's maybe
you got Ben Shapiro on one side, and then you've got Preet Bharara.
So there's multiple points, and but the meme and the format is similar. So I don't think the format, right? Maybe like younger people use that format more often because it's native, right? Like learning how to meme things and understanding what makes a meme funny, right? Like for example, you have the sample size of seeing like dozens and dozens of anchors over your life, if not hundreds. So you know what makes a good news anchor and what doesn't. And right, my younger brother probably doesn't, right? He's just like, all right, they're saying something. Versus my brother can identify to you what's a funny meme and what's not, because of all the nuance that's in there. So I just think that it's a format that's more familiar and bred out of having a small screen, on you at all times.
And the ability to send it to somebody else. Whereas we passively consumed and had very little control, with the exception of the remote. We have very little control to edit. We couldn't edit or remix.
Or actively discuss, right?
Or discuss, right. So there was no communication layer to television, and then there was no remix culture.
Yeah.
Our remixing was zines, which were magazines that were made with photocopiers.
Is it zines or zines?
Zines.
Okay.
And you Gen Zs could be corrupt now, but that's one where I understand Fleek versus Fleck. It's zines, as in magazines without the mag. It was like the acoustic version, the raw version was zines, made with photocopy. So you could literally do collage. You would cut a picture and you would put it and tape it, and then you'd make a photocopy, then you'd hand it to somebody. So if we were going to make a zine about Donald Trump, or have a Donald Trump page in the zine, we would just cut some Donald Trump stuff and draw a Hitler mustache on him and put it in there and then photocopy it. That was graphic design. Before PageMaker, now you can do it on your phone with Canva or whatever tool you like to use.
What's interesting about remix culture is actually, so we added multiple effects in Panda recently.
Yeah.
And people started like remixing their favorite memes. So you take like the Thug Life goggles and add them to Fortnite.
Right. Now explain the Thug Life meme. This is when it goes da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. So there's I think it's a Snoop Dogg song. But like, so basically that meme is associated with Snoop Dogg because like basically these sunglasses will come in. They're like these pixelated sunglasses. A blunt will come in, and there's I forget which song this is, but it's da 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 da, and then it's a Thug Life kind of ad lib
anthem,
and this, I think it's a Grand Theft Auto font comes in of like Thug Life,
and
it's basically for moments that are just like, You're just kind of like a boss in that scenario. Oh, here we go. This is a live leak.
Who knows what this is, but anyway, this baby is just gives the finger.
Yeah.
And then you freeze it, and then you slowly zoom in on the freeze frame and thug.
Yeah. So we'll have that, and people will like add that with our Fortnite effects and start to create new combinations, or like they'll do the pig and like Fortnite and create Fortnite pig. So we've directly kind of implemented that remix culture, which is you'll see memes devolve into memes of other memes, which are memes of like
right. You're remixing memes.
Yeah,
which is insanity.
Yeah, and I think,
what do people think about copyright in this? Because if you take somebody else's IP, how does a Gen Z person look at IP? Somebody puts a photo online or a video is online, it's fair game, right?
I would.
There's no such thing as intellectual property
protection. It feels a lot like how over the last 10 years intellectual property works in China. I think is the same approach of like in Shenzhen, right? It's like your PCB is as good as mine. Like there's a lot of information sharing and IP sharing there. I think the same thing kind of happens in Gen Z of like there is copyright's a foreign issue or a foreign perspective, I think, for most Gen Z. Like
it doesn't exist, in other words. This concept doesn't exist. Now,
I think it exists. It's just ignored.
Right. And for memes, it's kind of an exception because they're done in fun without any hope of profit.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm sending you the thug meme of Donald Trump.
You're not paying me $1 to view my memes.
Right. Therefore, it's kind of fair use.
Yeah.
What about stealing stuff wholesale? Because in our generation, we were being derided for BitTorrent, Napster, Nutella, everything. We were stealing stuff. I'm not saying I was, but people couldn't get stuff online. There was no Netflix. There was no way to get TV shows on. There was no Hulu. There was no DirecTV. There was no Spotify. Yeah. Therefore, people would steal stuff and trade it on torrents.
Yeah.
Does Gen Z even know what torrents are, and do they steal content? Or
it's like I haven't heard the word torrent said in a long. Because here's the thing, right? Like there was this actually really great Ben Affleck clip that was going viral on Twitter like a day or two ago about him predicting Spotify and Netflix. Of the real thing, right? Was like it was easier to pirate things than it was to buy them legally. It was more convenient. The streaming made that easier. It is easier to open Netflix on my phone right now and just click on something and just pay and like to have access to that than to wait 8 hours to go get The Empire Strikes Back, right? So I think I think now that streaming services is kind of proliferated, I think I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, it seems kind of silly to steal something when you and your friends are trading stuff. Yeah. Here's the Ben Affleck clip. Let's see if we get some sound here. I got to undo my sound.
It's just easier to
here, let's play something. This. We got a little sound or no? Okay. We don't hear it, but...
You have to click on it, maybe.
No, it should be playing. You hear it, Jackie? It's okay? I don't. Okay. Anyway. I can barely hear it. But anyway, yes, I get the idea. Yeah. It's a pretty easy prediction to make, is that you can get anything you want and just pay a monthly fee.
No, he actually predicted the business model of like how royalties would be... It's like hilariously accurate. I'm not sure when it was recorded, but anyway, the point being is like... about how shareware was like the natural, right? Like it caused everyone to wake up in Hollywood of like, hey, wait, like our stuff's being stolen wholesale. And it's like, well, now it is easier to stream than it is to pirate, right? It requires less effort. It's faster, right? To pirate something takes a few hours, right?
I guess theoretically, yeah. I mean, and there's some places where you can't even pay. So my understanding is the torrent sites are now for China, India, Eastern Europe, where if you try to watch Netflix, you couldn't get it.
Yeah.
Or it'd be censored. All right, let me ask you, do Gen Zers use VPNs? Do they know what a VPN is? So, do they care, or is that a niche thing?
I at least in terms of in the United States, right, where we have, luckily, no censorship of our internet, or at least limited. I don't think that's that big of an issue, right? But if you're in Europe, for sure, right? Because we live in the great land of America, where all content exists here. Everything's like, we are the centered desired user, right? In Europe, it's like, hey, not available in England, right? So they'll use like TunnelBear or something to go.
I met with the TunnelBear CEO. I didn't invest because I was like, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. But I really came close to investing, and Emmy award-winning producer, please ask a special projects person here to contact the CEO of Tunnel Bear. Tell him Jason wants to make up for the mistake of not investing, because I literally just installed Tunnel Bear and started paying $10 a month for it because I was on a trip.
My dad pays $10 a month. My dad, biggest like TV fan in the entire world, right? And he's like, I have to watch my Westworld. I have to watch my Game of Thrones. And he's like, he was in where was it? He was like in London or in Canada, and he was like, hey Daniel, how do I do that? I want to watch it. I'm like, you can't. You're in London. And then I was like, wait, actually install Tunnel Bear. I was like, I wonder if you'll be able to figure it out. Boop, 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 boop. He's like,
Tunnel Bear is dope.
He's like, I subscribed. I paid like $20 a month. I'm like, still pays. Doesn't use it some months. Still.
I use it because I want to be protected when I'm out there, and I have like 2 different VPN providers.
Yeah.
I like to have a backup because they're playing cat and mouse now.
Yeah.
Where they'll turn off certain ones. But I was in Australia for 10 days and then Barcelona for a week. And I wanted to listen to CNBC and Howard Stern on Sirius, and Sirius didn't work. And then I wanted to watch DirecTV now, because I have DirecTV now. Yeah. You have that?
No.
You have an over-the-top provider?
Well, I just use YouTube TV.
Oh, you have YouTube TV.
Yeah,
so you pay for streaming.
Yeah.
So you pay you pay YouTube twice. You have 2 monthly subscriptions.
Yeah. YouTube takes a lot of my money, and then I pay for like storage as well on Google. Google has done.
Oh, you're paying for a terabyte on there for $1.99.
So what's interesting is my dad and I were in Hong Kong and wanted to watch. I think it was like the Warriors game or something.
Yeah.
During the final, and like. So we just like tunnel bared in, and it was great because we already pay for it. It's like we live in the U.S. Like we shouldn't.
Yeah, there shouldn't be a big deal.
And the thing is, like, most people in the United States do not travel outside the United States, right? Or at least frequently, right? So you're just not aware of just how much things are built for
you want
US.
a pro tip? I'll give you a pro tip, but you got to give me one back.
Okay.
The BBC.
Yeah.
In the UK, right? Yeah. It's paid for by who?
The English taxpayer.
Right. Every video they have the iPlayer, which is everybody who's on an IP address in England can watch anything in the history of BBC. They have
they have the archives
They have the archives. Now I'm not talking about just Doctor Who. If you go in there and type in Dire Straits or any musician, anything that's been on BBC Radio, they have this incredible archive of amazing stuff. And a friend who is not me, someone who is not me, swim. Is I think the acronym they use on Reddit. Someone who is not me. Anyway.
Yeah.
They were telling me it's a fascinating thing that you could set your Tunnel Bear to England and watch iPlayer.
Ooh.
Which opens you up to an archive that you have no idea exists. So if you wanted to watch Downton Abbey and not wait the 6 month to a year, I'm not saying I would ever watch Downton Abbey. That's for old ladies. But if I was obsessed with Downton Abbey and I didn't want to wait, you could do that.
Yeah, actually, I love a lot of the BBC like construction and engineering documentaries. So
yeah, they do it right.
I might have to.
The nature documentaries are the one. You have the David Attenborough stuff.
David
my God.
Everything.
That's my guy, man. That's my guy.
Do we have something for the equivalent of like PBS with like all the Ken Burns documentaries? Because like they're on Netflix, but then they like come off and whatnot.
Yeah, you know what? PBS is like a fractured system where they all beg for money locally. There's no
they have,
censor
like,
or
the call-a-thons? This is something I don't think most Gen Z people. Didn't they have like the telethons?
Yeah, they're telethons. You call in.
Do they do those anymore?
I think they do annoy people with those sometimes. Yeah.
But like, who watches PBS live anymore?
No, PBS needs to do their own Netflix.
Yeah.
Or they just need to say to Netflix, you can have everything if you give us $1 billion a year.
What I find interesting
entire archive
is how we've like taken the cable TV bundle, which was $150 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then debundled it, and now I've
now you're paying $250.
No. Now I've tallied the amount of subscriptions. I think it's the same way of like you used to pay for music, right?
Yep.
Of like you spend $100 a year. Now you spend $180 a year, right, or whatever.
No, it'll net out to more.
Yeah.
But you'll have calm.com in there for $6 a month.
Yeah.
Or you'll have Fitbod in there for $5 a month. You'll have like a range of
You feel better
services.
about it, which is the weird part. You feel better about the money you're spending because it's like, you feel I have control of like I'm paying for HBO and I'm paying for YouTube Premium. And
right.
Like,
if HBO starts sucking, you can be like, you know what?
Did you hear about what happened today?
No.
Oh, so AT&T acquired HBO.
Yeah.
And AT&T comes in. The statement the like media guy there gives.
Oh, right. I heard about this.
It's like I mean, number one compares it to childbirth, which was like just not a good way to like compare your business.
Yeah, I think there's some moms who are going to be like, you know what? F you. until you actually have a child and understand exactly how much pain that is.
Yeah. No, the guy says, yeah, my wife hates it when I use this analogy because he's like, anyways. But they're basically like, you guys have never made a profit. The like former HBO CEO is like, no, we have, and he's like, you have, but not enough. And it's like.
So now he's effing with the guy who made Game of Thrones.
Yeah, no. So because the thing of HBO's thing is like, we're gonna give creators all the money in the world, all the time, short seasons, just make the best content.
Sure.
We're not gonna do too many things. And they want to be more like Netflix of like, no, we're gonna make something for everyone. Like Netflix originals used to be like, it was House of Cards, right? Like it was like very well produced, small. Now it's
like go for it.
Yeah, now that like the first
Adam Sandler,
the first 2 bars of like the thing is like Netflix. It's like stuff you're like okay watching, but like there's not
a lot of garbage on Netflix.
But like HBO, it's like I will watch an HBO show I don't think I will like because I just know that almost every single time it's delightful.
You know, it's not. I like even if you didn't like. What was the one about the 70s disco rock era with Bobby Cannavale?
Was it the one about the porn industry in New York? Or?
No, that one's actually with Maggie Gyllenhaal
Yeah.
and James Franco, also very good.
Yeah.
But they had one specifically about HBO series.
The 10
rock
episode
and roll.
Vice? No, I think it might have called Vice.
What was it? Vinyl.
Vinyl.
It got
Vinyl,
canceled. It was Martin Scorsese and Mick Jagger were the executive producers, but they weren't actually writing it. Anyway, Vinyl was dynamite. Did you see it?
No.
Go watch season 1 of Vinyl. They spent so much money. Even if you don't like it,
Yeah.
Bobby Cannavale and some of the other actors, and they had Olivia Wilde's in it. She's unbelievable. Ray Romano's in it. He's unbelievable. The performances and the amount they spent on this, you can only appreciate it. Even if you don't like it,
Yeah.
you can appreciate exactly to your point. And now this dipshit at AT&T wants to take the entire brand value of HBO, which is quality, and say, F that, go for scale. And he said, his quote was, we don't want people watching it like every Sunday. We want hours per day.
We don't want hours per week. We want hours per day.
So,
and it's like, no one. There's limited hours in the day, right? Like don't play your own game, right? Like Netflix is internal, and it's like.
All right, tell me 3 things that you're currently using that nobody knows about. Tell me 3 apps, 3 startups, 3 products.
I'm gonna look at my phone.
3 subscriptions, and then we'll end on that.
So there's one app
with Z Daniel
that if you live in San Francisco, I think is amazing, which is Mr. Chili, which is really cute.
Explain why Mr.
app.
Chili is dope.
So Mr. Chili opens to a little view of the San Francisco city, and you can swipe between the times, and it has all the different microclimates. Which, if you live in San Francisco, you can go from like Potrero Hill, which is really warm right now, and go to the Presidio, and it's a 10-degree difference. And
see, the thing with Mr. Chili that people don't understand is, I'm pulling it up right now. When you come to San Francisco, you're like, oh my God, it's cold. It's like, it's cold, but in Potrero, it's 66 degrees, and in the Presidio, it's 56. Now, that would be a low swing, 10 degrees.
Yeah.
But if you were in New York City, you're like, Brooklyn and Manhattan are 10 degrees different.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, they're like...
Sometimes it's 20 or 30 degrees difference.
Yeah.
Potrero's like living in Santa Monica. The marina's like living in San Francisco.
I went to Stinson Beach yesterday, and it was 85.
In Stinson.
Yeah, and driving, I was looking at the car thermometer as I was driving across the Golden Gate Bridge, 85, 84, 83, 82, 81. Right, like
right to 70, yeah.
65.
65.
By the time we got
so
to
20-degree difference, basically.
And I was just like,
what just happened? All right, Mr. Chili's your number one. Excellent choice.
Mr. Chili's one.
What's another thing? This could be a restaurant. It could be a physical product. Anything that Z Daniel is your new nickname, Generation Z Daniel. Z Daniel.
So there's...
Zandel. Zandel. Do me a favor. All of Daniel's friends, call him Zandel next time you see him, just to tweak him a bit because he hates this. Zandel, what's your second?
I think this one's very controversial.
Okay, here we go.
A lot of my
feels
friends
like a scooter.
disagree with
Bird.
me.
Oh, here we go.
No, it's in the same vein, actually.
Okay.
100% think that car ownership inside of San Francisco is like... So my friend, I convinced him to get a car. He now rents it on Getaround. So he has a car. He's made money.
The reverse hack.
Yeah. So he makes money by owning a car, by taking the capital risk.
So car ownership combined with Getaround.
Yeah. In the city, because number one,
explain what Getaround is.
Getaround lets you rent out your car to strangers. Sometimes they crash it, sometimes they don't.
But there's a there's a GPS ODB thing where you can throttle the speed, I guess.
Exactly.
It makes it relatively safe, but you get $50 a day, $100 a day,
something like that, right? Like Charlie rented his car. And
What is he pushing? What's Charlie pushing? A Lambo? Ferrari?
An X3.
X3, BMW X3.
Right, very
he
rentable
bought a
car.
used one.
No, he bought a new one.
New one.
Leased a new one. Covers all the
Covers it all.
Makes money on that.
Hilarious. Okay, so reverse car ownership. I like it.
Yeah.
And what's your third Zandal tip?
I by the way, do
week?
think that less cars is better. I just want to be very clear about that. But in the Bay
But no,
Area,
he's contributing because he owns it, but 20 other people a month use it.
Use it. And like it is having a car in the Bay Area, I do think opens the Bay Area. Like a lot of my friends are
There's
like,
a lot of cool stuff going on north of that bridge and east of that.
Stinson, Diablo.
Yeah, wait till you get to Yosemite.
Yeah.
Have you been out there yet?
Oh, I grew up in LA. I'm from California.
Okay, you're from Cali.
But
no, there's a lot of people here who haven't been out to and
that is
seen
true.
like Half Dome. And you're like,
I
El
want to hike
Capitan.
Half Dome. I've been like training to do.
Yeah, that's dope shit.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
number
that's
three.
number three.
Okay, Samuel's number 3.
So we have two local ones. So we should diversify.
Could be a physical object you bought on Amazon. Could be a subscription service.
I'm trying to think of something that like has drastically changed.
Efficiency. Could be an efficiency hack.
Yeah. Let me just look at my phone because every. Oh well, I'll do one plug for you that you will like. There's an email app.
Oh really?
That I use a lot.
What is it called?
It might be called Superhuman.
Oh, da 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 da. Superhuman. What do you love about Superhuman? I'm an investor. Full disclosure.
So, what I like about Superhuman, and number hard fought battle to get me into this product because I've used a bunch of email products. I was a big Mailbox fan. I think it's just like it's fast and search works. And
it saves you time.
Yeah. Well, it just works. And the thing is, like, I hate email. Actually, most people hate email.
Sure.
And the thing is, all it does for me is it's made it a more tolerable experience. I just found out a new feature today of like I've been moving people from like 2 to BCC and CC to 2, right? And
how do you do that with the quick key? You mean?
Yeah. Well, no. I was like, I told them when you say moving to BCC, it should automatically do that. Because when I talk about a day of like, let's say Monday on the calendar, it'll pull up my calendar and show me like, oh, I have this thing with Jason, right? Like I can't book over that. But having that happen automatically, is like, oh, just do Command Shift I, and it's like, it just does it all.
It is pretty good.
And you just keep learning, and I think they just have the attention to detail like a lot of consumer product teams do.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah. So
yeah, I'm an investor. It's incredible. But you can't get in unless you go through training.
Yeah.
So, and they have a wait list, so they're not just letting everybody in, because they know if you don't learn the quick keys. I think this is a really brilliant observation they have. If you don't learn the quick keys, you're not going to be superhuman. Therefore,
I also think it's 100% worth it. So the $30 a month like surprised me for a while.
It's a little expensive, a little pricey.
I just think
you're a
like,
baller.
well, for me, I just think if you go to like, most people work as an employee somewhere, right, in the world, right, and then like, if most companies, especially not tech companies, right, like conventional companies, spend a ton of time on email, right, like SDRs spend an inordinate amount of time.
It's such a no-brainer.
Yeah, if it's like, hey, you spend 50% less time, it's like every manager knows how much the little dollar sign above everyone's head is. It's like $30 a month steal. So I think going after that market's very, very smart. I don't think getting individuals to pay $30 a month, unless they're like VCs, is smart. But so yeah, I think it's one of those products that like by charging more, it's become more valuable, which I think is really interesting. Like
I agree.
So
all right, here we go. We are 73 minutes in. I thought this was going to be a shorty. It wound up being a longie. Shorty is like a half episode. We put something on the end. But you earned your salt today, Daniel Singer. Follow him on the Twitter, Daniel Singer. He probably doesn't do anything on Twitter because it's Gen Z.
No, I love Twitter.
Are you in?
Twitter, okay. Gen Z.
What does Gen Z think of Twitter? Is it
they
reverse?
They use it a lot. Like,
but are they lurking? Are they lurking?
It's a lot of.
There are a lot
lurking,
of moments.
Is
moments what pulled them in?
No.
It's memes.
Yeah, it's memes. Twitter threads. Like
threads.
Surprisingly, hat tip to Mark and Andreessen, but like that is a big behavior in Twitter are threads, and it's like that. Yeah. Young people use a lot.
I just like when my favorite thread thing is all the conspiracy theorists and people who have Trump derangement syndrome. They're like thread, and then they do like a 60 thread Mueller investigation with every single screenshot and capture. And you're like, this person has lost their mind.
What's really funny?
Of course, Trump's dirty.
To tie in a earlier thread.
Yes.
When people have a very viral tweet, they'll add a thread to it, and they'll either plug their SoundCloud, their Square Cash, sometimes Venmo, but they will plug
ask for a donation.
Yeah. Like this is the weird. I think it says a lot about like our country as a whole. Like kind of
begging.
Yeah. No, but no. Well, no. It's just like they're like, I tweeted something good, so give me money. It's always a weird behavior that like.
It's called entitlement. Yeah.
I mean,
Does GenZ? I'll end on this. Do they want full-time employment or not? Because millennials are like, oh, experiences. I want to go to Coachella. I can't take a job if they don't give me these 3 weeks off, so I can go to the Antarctic.
Most Gen Z is not in the workforce yet. It's hard to tell.
Hard to tell.
And then
Unknown.
I'm also really biased because I have a very different worldview.
You're
so
starting
it's like,
companies.
All
right.
Yeah. So we'll see.
All right. Sorry to Miss Singer. I'm sorry that Daniel dropped out of school, but he's going to make you very proud. We'll see if he can stay focused.
I still cook, so she's happy.
You still cook, Mom, some dinner once in a while? That's very nice. You're not making her like the non-cooked burnt pancakes on the edges,
No.
She's like, "Oh, these are the greatest pancakes, Daniel. Thank you." She spits them out. All right, listen, everybody, go download Panda.af. Go get your Panda.af and start playing with it. And thank you to our partners, Emmy Award-winning producer Jackie and director Tony. Thank you so much. You're doing a good job. Nice start. We'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye bye.